The afternoon sun rested gently on the long country road, casting a warm glow that made everything seem safe, almost peaceful. Cars drifted by lazily. The wind carried only the soft rustle of trees, and nothing hinted that something terrible was unfolding right in the middle of all that calm. But inside a dusty white van, fear was fighting for a way out. Behind the rear window, a small shaking hand slowly rose, gripping a wrinkled piece of paper with desperate force on it. Written in uneven, trembling letters were the words no one ever expects to see. Kidnapped. Help. The little girl, exhausted and terrified, lifted the note with the last bit of courage she had left, just hoping that someone's eyes would catch her silent cry. In a world that often moves too fast to notice small signals, this one moment carried the weight of a life depending on it. But just a few seconds after the van passed, the group of bikers hanging out near their motorcycles began to sense something was off. One of them narrowed his eyes at the rear window, then another turned to look, and suddenly every rider fell silent at the same moment. They hadn't imagined it. They truly saw a terrified little girl pressed against the glass, her small hand lifting a crumpled note that begged for help. Grant Maddox, the leader among them, felt something heavy drop into his chest. I'd seen trouble before, but this was different. This was a child fighting for her life with nothing but a piece of paper. The bikers exchanged quick glances that said more than words ever could. No hesitation, no second guessing, just a shared understanding that they couldn't ignore what they had seen. In that instant, the quiet road turned into the beginning of something urgent and life-changing. The moment the realization settled among them, the bikers moved with a sense of purpose that felt almost instinctive. Helmets came on, gloves tightened, and in seconds the peaceful roadside turned into a surge of roaring engines. Grant took the lead without needing to say a word, his posture firm and focused as he guided the others into formation. They weren't just chasing a van, they were chasing hope for a child who had no one else to rely on. The rumble of their motorcycles filled the highway as they closed the distance, each rider slipping into a precise position, one angled to block any passing cars, another prepared to cut off the van's escape, while the rest stayed close, ready for whatever came next. Despite the speed, everything felt controlled, deliberate, almost rehearsed. Their unity became their strength, turning a risky pursuit into a mission they were determined not to lose. Inside the van, the kidnapper finally noticed the growing swarm of motorcycles in his mirrors, and panic began to twist across his face. He gripped the wheel tighter, jerking the vehicle left and right in a desperate attempt to shake them off. But the bikers were steady, confident, and far more skilled than he expected. Grant edged closer, his eyes locked on the driver with a calm intensity that carried its own kind of warning. Silas moved up on the opposite side, pushing the van subtly toward the gravel shoulder, while the others managed the road around them to keep everyone safe. Every second felt heavier than the last, but the bikers refused to back down. They matched the van's reckless swerves with practiced precision, refusing to give the kidnapper the space or time to slip away. Little by little, the balance of control began to shift until escape was no longer an option. The van finally skidded to a rough stop on the gravel shoulder, dust rising in the air as the engines of the motorcycles faded into a low rumble around it. Grant didn't wait for the dust to settle. He was already off his bike, moving toward the back of the van with a determination that left no room for doubt. Silas had the kidnapper pinned within seconds, dragging him away from the door before he could even think of running. Inside, the little girl stepped back from the window, her small hands trembling, unsure of what would happen next. When Grant swung open the rear door, sunlight poured into the dark space like a promise. For a brief moment she hesitated, frozen by fear, but then her instincts guided her forward. She ran straight into Grant's arms, finally letting out the tears she'd held in for hours. And in that fragile embrace, safety returned to her world. Hours later, when the police had taken the kidnapper away and the little girl was safely reunited with her mother, the bikers found themselves back at their clubhouse, standing quietly in the fading light of the afternoon. Grant looked out at the same open road where everything had unfolded, the echoes of the chase still fresh in his mind. He knew none of them were perfect men. They had rough edges, hard histories, and lives marked by mistakes. But today had shown something deeper, something stronger. Beneath all the leather and noise and reputation, they carried a sense of responsibility that didn't need praise or recognition. They acted because a child needed them, and that alone made every risk worth it. As word of their bravery spread through town, people realized kindness doesn't always appear the way you expect it to. Sometimes it arrives on two wheels with a heart ready to protect.